Hey, it's Craig Syracuse, and welcome to another episode of Walk in Faith, the show where we go beyond the image and we discover who our guests really are. You might know them from TV, the big screen, or even the world of sports, but do we really know who they are as a person? Do we know what motivates them? Do we know what inspires them? Well, that's what we're here to find out. On today's episode, we had the opportunity to sit down with Brooklyn Nets point guard Jeremy Lin and join him on a visit to an elementary school where he answers questions about his life, his career, and his faith. Oh, and even his favorite ice cream flavor. Stay tuned. Walk with us. So, Jeremy, thank you for sitting down with me. I appreciate it. I mean, you must have a busy schedule. I mean, how do you find time to go to church or pray? How do you do that?
I feel like even though we're traveling a lot, there is still a lot of time in the day. And I feel like, honestly, like, it doesn't matter how busy you are, if you prioritize it, like, you'll find a way to get it done. And to be able to spend that time. And for me, it's like, I need it, you know, it's not like, someone's forcing me to. It's like literally if I need that time with God, otherwise I feel like I'm off. I feel like I'm not a loving person. I feel like my thoughts are different. So I want to get that time every day.
And do you, like, how do you pray? Like, I literally sit there and in my car on the way to work and just have conversations with God. Is that something you do, or is it different? What do you ask him for?
It just depends where I'm at in my life, but I feel like one thing that I've really been learning is just, you know, prayer should just be like childlike faith. Like a kid comes to his parents and asks for certain things or talks about stuff. It's just very vulnerable, and it's exactly what you're feeling is what he wants to hear. And oftentimes I pray, you know, for my heart to be in the right place, especially before I get on the court. It's like I want to be able to glorify God and not myself. And I think that's, you know, the struggle of every competitive athlete who wants to win and wants to do well, and it's like, how do you balance that with at the same time surrendering the results?
Do you believe that God is sort of directing your steps?
100%. I feel like there's multiple verses, Romans 8:28, Ephesians 2:10. Like, there's a lot of different scriptures that talk about just how God has planned things out to be a certain way, and he's just bigger than all of our circumstances. He's in control of everything, and I feel like for me it's learning to surrender that and then willfully, obediently go in whatever direction he calls me to go. And that honestly takes a lot of constant heart evaluation, seeing like, man, am I really giving this up to him? And then taking the time to listen to hear what God wants from me. For example, like this foundation that I have, or evangelism specifically to Asian Americans, and there's certain territories like China to me is very important. I feel like, you know, being a communist country, not having direct evangelism, like, I feel like that's something that, you know, I would love to be able to try to bring the gospel to China. And so there's different you know, tuggings of my heart that God has continually put, you know, throughout my career, and sometimes it's specific teammates, or starting a Bible study on a team, things like that.
What do you think God's ultimate plan is for your life?
I mean, I think like the most basic is just, you know, communion and relationship with him every day. I think that's like fundamentally like what we were created for, to worship him. But I think that, you know, on a, you know, maybe more specific, you know, agenda, I feel like it's to use this platform, to use basketball, to bring glory to him on a global scale. And what that looks like is what we're trying to figure out. And things come and go. My career has changed and evolved, and my platform has changed and evolved. But I feel like as long as our heart, you know, my heart and the people that work for me, like, as long as we're always trying to do things to bring God glory, I feel like, you know, we're in his will.
You're very outspoken about your faith. Why is it that most athletes have a difficulty identifying with faith, or even using their platform to spread the gospel?
Because I think it's naturally, like, I feel like that's naturally controversial. I feel like a lot of athletes are taught to just like blend in. You know, you don't want to say anything too crazy, otherwise you might be ridiculed or mocked or whatever. And then I think sometimes there's just more pressure. There's more pressure on everything, and so taking a stand on anything in the public eye immediately alienates you from the people who disagree.
And last question is, what is the one thing, if there's, say, the kids here or there's anyone out there that's sort of struggling with their faith or identity, what would you say to them?
I would just say always go back to the cross. I feel like that's, you know, what it's always been about, is just understanding how much we needed a Savior, and understanding that, you know, without God, like, we can't do anything. Like, we can't even, like, not sin. Like, we can't save ourselves. Like, no amount of good works or anything will be able to do that. So even when I'm feeling spiritually dry, like, I try to come back to the cross, and remind myself, like, man, the love, the sacrifice that he gave, like, you know, if I really experienced that, I feel like it'll just get me out of the dryness that I'm in.
That's great. Thanks, man. Really great interview. God bless you, man.
You too.
After the break, we'll visit St. Saviour's Catholic Academy with Brooklyn Nets' Jeremy Lin. Stay tuned.
We have questions right here.
All right, so Maggie, one of her questions were, she wants to know if you would have any other job in the world, what would it be and why?
Ooh. If I could have any other job in the world, I don't know. I feel like I would want to be like a food critic. Like, I love eating. Like, food is so good to me, and I just feel like if you're a food critic, you just eat the best food in the world, and that's just what you do every day. You just go and eat great food. So I feel like that'd be pretty fun.
Joseph in 8A was wondering if you've ever had any problems working with your teammates, and if so, how did you work it out?
Oh, definitely. Every team has problems every year. Guys fight with each other, yell at each other, say things they shouldn't say. But I think it kind of goes back to, it's similar to your family too. Like, you might get in a fight with your siblings or your parents, but at the end of the day, you remember that they care a lot about you. And as long as they care about you, you can always go back to that. It's like, man, my teammates care about me a lot. We want the same thing. We want to succeed. And so after the emotions calm down, you just talk to each other like in a tone that you would want to be talked to yourself.
All right. Lauren, Brianna, Jonathan, and Brandon all wanted to know, who are your biggest inspirations growing up?
My biggest inspiration was my older brother, because he was always like he always took care of me. He looked after me. Anytime he did anything, he made sure to bring me, and so we did everything together. And then my biggest inspiration on the basketball court was Michael Jordan. You guys are probably too young to really, you guys know he's good, but you guys probably don't really know how good he was for people my age. Like, everybody loved Jordan.
All right. Filippo in 7A was wondering how much time you put into practice before going pro.
Oh, a lot. hours every day. I mean, there's a lot of sacrifices. So while a lot of my friends were, wow. While a lot of my friends were like playing video games or doing other things, or, you know, sleepovers, or even like when we got to high school or college, you know, there's times where you had to get up really early to train or do different things. I mean, it was definitely hours every day, sometimes 2-3 workouts a day. So definitely, I don't know how many, but a lot of hours.
Ezra in 6B was wondering what your favorite ice cream flavor is.
Ooh, great question. So I said I like food. One of my favorite foods is ice cream. Actually, you know, I like going, you guys been to Ample Hills? It's like, yeah. I go to Ample Hills too. I love Ample Hills. My favorite flavor is probably, no, not vanilla, that's too boring. It's probably coffee or like something with like a Reese's type, like peanut butter with chocolate. Like they have a lot of those different types of flavors. So anything with peanut butter and chocolate together, I really like.
All right. Gavin in 6B was wondering what it feels like when you're trading.
It sucks. Because basically someone's kind of saying they don't want you. They're like, let me just get rid of you. So it's definitely not a good feeling. You don't feel. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be like if your teacher was like, I'm going to send you to this other class. You'd be like, why? Unless you're a bad student. But it would make you feel like, man, they don't want me.
Next question from 7A. There's no name on this one, but it says, what was the hardest team you have ever played?
The hardest team I've ever played? No, I would say, yeah, the Warriors. The Warriors are probably the toughest because to beat them over a 48-minute stretch, like obviously you're at the end of the game, you have to have more points in them, and you can outplay them for stretches, but at some point, one of those dudes is going to get hot, and you have to be able to keep up with the pace at which they score, and that's really difficult to do.
All right. Mimi in 7A was wondering how basketball has affected your lifestyle, including the way you act, the way you dress, or just general interactions.
I mean, definitely basketball in terms of the way I dress. Like, I'm really casual right now, but sometimes, like, basketball players get to wear, like, crazy stuff and get away with it, you know? Like, yeah, like Westbrook, Dwayne Wade, like a lot of basketball players or athletes, like, just wear crazy stuff and they get to, and it's just okay. So I feel like it's definitely, like, I definitely am more bold or courageous with the way I dress when I go to games and stuff, just because that's kind of what everybody does. And then basketball affects everything else too. Like when I go home or whatever, like I'm always thinking about my sleep. So like how many hours I'm sleeping, I'm thinking about what I'm eating, like candy and stuff like that. They like affect my body differently. You know, they make your muscles and your tendons swell, which is bad. So whether you're eating, whatever you're doing, like how late you're staying up, even like we were in Orlando yesterday, and like I wanted to go to Disney, but then I was like, man, if I go to Disney, like I'm gonna be walking around the whole day, like I'm gonna be tired from my game, so I'm not gonna go to Disney, even though I wanted to. So there's a lot of decisions when you're in season that are all catered towards like your performance.
And Alessine in 6A was wondering what inspired you to start playing basketball.
My dad let me play basketball in the beginning, and he introduced me to the game, and really after that it was just I loved it. Like I loved it since I was 5 years old, and I couldn't stop playing. And my brothers played, my dad played, and so it was always something that we did as a family. My mom even played every once in a while, so we would do it together, and then I always loved the game from that point on.
All right, Isa, he wants to know what your future goals are.
Future goals. Are you talking about like basketball or like off the court? Basketball. My future goals are, I mean, every player's immediate goal should be like find a way to win a championship, and obviously it's a process, right? Like, but I think, you know, if you look at anybody who became a champion, like it took years and it took a lot of work and it took like getting different teammates and being put in right situations. And I feel like at Brooklyn we're just building. Like we're not a great team from a record standpoint right now, but we're just going to keep building, getting better, and then you never know what's going to happen. So I would love to see, you know, myself at some point like win a championship.
All right. This is a 7A question, but there's no name. Who do you think deserves the MVP this season?
You ask. Who do you think? Yeah, I agree with you, man. I agree with you because what he's doing, like, it's like people don't understand how hard it is to do what he's doing, like every night, because we get tired. We're tired all the time. We travel across the country, come back. Like we were in Orlando yesterday. We're playing tomorrow here, and then we got to go to Boston. Then we're going to Chicago. So we're always everywhere, flying, changing time zones. His ability to play like consistently every night is like remarkable. So I would definitely go for him.
All right. Yuri in 6A was wondering what genre is your favorite?
Of music?
Music, yes.
Most of the time I listen to Christian music, but I also really enjoy like, it just depends like what time of day too. So like if it's right before a game, most of the time me and the entire team, we listen to a lot of hip hop. Like if it's after the game, it's more like chill, like slow jams, R&B or whatever, like especially if it's like late at night and you're flying and you're on the plane or whatever, just like chill out music.
Lucy in 6B was wondering if you had ever been teased as a kid, and if so, how did you get through it?
Oh, I got teased a lot. Yeah. So when I grew up playing, like, so I'm 28, so when I was like, let's say 18 years ago or whatever, like it wasn't common to see Asians playing basketball in the US. So a lot of people would make fun of me or call me names. You know, people would always, you know, want to guard me because they just assumed that I couldn't play or whatever. So that happened a lot, but I felt like in the beginning it would make me really angry, and then like I would start playing really crazy, like running people over, fouling everybody, and then I learned that like if I could take that negative, you know, their insults and stuff, and I could motivate myself in a positive way and be able to take the anger that they have towards me and be able to use it in a way it's like, all right, well, like I'm gonna be more motivated and work even harder, but I'm not gonna do it out of like bitterness or hate or anger. I feel like taking that extra energy and making myself work harder, play better, actually helped me. So it was like they tried to hurt me, but they're actually helping me by giving me these insults. So if somebody teases you about whatever, it's like, whatever it is that you're dealing with, you know, you just focus on how you want to get better. If it's schoolwork, if it's music, if it's being a better friend or being a better daughter or son, like you just take that energy and you focus, all right, well, I want to get better as a person. If I keep getting better, like then I'll just help myself, you know, and take that energy and use it that way.
Yash in 7A would like to know who would win the dunk contest, you or Brooke Lopez?
Brooke. I can barely dunk, so definitely Brooke.
Can you talk about your foundation? Like what kind of stuff it's
Yeah.
your initiative, your mission?
So my foundation, basically what we try to do is, I love kids, I love hanging out with kids, so we try to go to whatever community I'm in and we try to figure out what is one issue in that community that is kind of swept under the rug, like people don't really talk about it that much, or people like kind of ignore it. And I think that's important for you guys growing up, is we have to all understand that there's always people that are less fortunate than us. Like you guys are here, you guys have clothes, you guys have school, you guys have food. Like there's people that don't have that. And so wherever you go, always trying to think about like, man, who can I help or who can I serve, or there's people in need, and being thankful for what you have. And so my foundation just basically, you know, for example, in Houston, when I was playing there, one big issue there is like immigrants and refugees, people who fled from other countries that are like in war and stuff like that. And that was an issue that was big in Houston, but people don't talk about that a lot. When I go to Taiwan, like there's issues about Aboriginals, which is basically like our version of Native Americans, who have kind of been pushed to the side, and basically they don't get as much and their resources are low. So helping with them. And so that's just basically what we try to do, is fill in holes in whatever community that we're in.
As a college player, right, did you ever have like anybody in your family not want you to move on to try to go pro? Or like or was it like, did your family like support you in going pro, or was it the opposite?
Yeah, my direct family always supported me, like my mom, my dad, my brothers. They always said, we support you as long as you take care of your schoolwork. So as long as I'm taking care of my grades, doing my homework, like they'll support me and to play as long as I can. My extended family, some of them didn't support it, and some of them were like, you need to quit basketball. some of them were putting pressure on my parents to try to make me quit basketball. And I think that I appreciate my parents a lot for sticking with me and helping me, and because they were like, I had no money at the time, so I had to, lean on my parents to be able to get me through and to be able to go through the process of trying to make the NBA. And so definitely I was lucky to have my mom and dad really support me.
How many places around the world do you think you've been?
So many. So many. I've been to like a ton of different countries. We go everywhere, even for basketball. Like, we've been to the Philippines, Taiwan, China, Hong Kong. We play in Canada sometimes, Toronto, and Mexico, everywhere. So yeah.
If you do you play 2K, and if you do, how would you react to your overall, like, good or bad?
I don't play 2K just because I feel like I'm around basketball so much, and when I want to play video games, I kind of want to play something that's not basketball. Honestly, to go into that, like, I don't even know my rating. I don't even care. Just because I feel like it's just some random dude behind a computer who's like giving me a number, and it's kind of arbitrary. Like, it's kind of like, it's very subjective, so I don't really worry too much about it.
You know what, Alex? I know that we could stay here all day, Mr. Lynn. It's time for us to actually leave. It's 5. No, great. What do we say? Across the hall.
Thank you, guys. Yeah. No worries. All right.
Hey, that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Always remember, we have the ability to inspire and evangelize through our words and actions. Until next time, thanks for walking with us.